25 pounds in 4 months after struggling with weight loss for 6 years. And all of that without cutting out my favorite food, without daily cardio, and overall without being miserable on the journey. That used to feel like it was an impossible dream, and yet I did it. So in this video, I'm going to show you guys how I went from someone who would binge multiple times per week and really struggle with her weight, gaining and losing the same 10 pounds, to finally healing her relationship with food, normal binges, and losing 25 pounds in 4 months. That I just didn't gain it back. Let's get into it. But before I show you the exact process, let's talk a little bit about actual results. So you can see here, I went from roughly 80 kilos to now 68 and happier than ever. And you can also see the transformation. All my measurements are down, especially the one around the waist, which is definitely what I wanted. Now I feel much more confident, I have more energy, I can wear whatever I want and feel good in what I wear. And I can trust myself around food, knowing that I can eat whatever I want without it turning into a binge. But I can hear some of you from a mile away saying, well, you don't have kids and you don't have that active of a social life, and maybe you're not as busy as me, and you don't take medication, and you don't have PCOS, and you don't have to travel all the time. You're not menopausal, it's your job to be in shape. And I get that. So before I actually get into the process, I need to show you some of the transformation that I've been able to achieve with other people. For example, Sarah, who lost 32 pounds in 6 months, despite having a very busy job as a 9-5er, who traveled a lot. And also medication that were working against us. Lisa lost 17 pounds as a solo mom and entrepreneur. She was also extremely busy in terms of her social life and would travel very often too. Her goal was 15 pounds, but it was so easy. Her words, not mine. You can watch her interviews that we went a little bit lower. Kathy, who lost 10 pounds as more of a skinny fat type of body in 70 days. Again, she was very busy. She was working. She was also preparing her wedding. And she did take a picture in a bikini on her honeymoon. That's the type of confidence I'm aiming for. We also have Lee, who has the craziest social life I've ever heard of and would travel multiple times throughout our time together as well. And she was struggling with binge eating, and that's basically why she came to me, because she was gaining the weight back every single time due to binges. But yeah, she lost 10 pounds working with me, and she continued to lose some weight even after the program, and specifically some inches around her waist and thighs. Prove that you don't gain the weight back with the way I teach things, because it's just becoming a part of you now in a lifestyle. Chris lost 28 pounds in 6 months as a busy mom and a teacher. She was a mom of 3. She's also menopausal. She's past her 50s. And yeah, she tried everything for years. Yo-yo dieting, losing weight in a very miserable way, and then getting it back. And now she's more confident than ever. Catherine lost 10 pounds in 3 months despite having PCOS. Arushi lost 27 pounds in 6 months. Kaylin lost 10 pounds as well in 3 months. You get the gesture. But you know, those are only screenshots. I also wanted to show you those testimonials, but specifically my favorite one, which is my oldest client. She was in her 60s. I think it was 65, 66 years old. Amazing transformation. She didn't want to show her body, but she agreed to do that testimonial for me. We are still in touch. She has so much more energy. She can do all the active things she wants to do with her grandchildren. She can travel and hike. It's in French, but you have the English translation, and that's basically the proof that it works regardless of your age.
Mon compagnon et moi, nous avons trop de poids. 10 kilos en trop pour lui et 6 kilos en trop pour moi. Alors là, c'est extraordinaire. En 3 mois, mon compagnon a perdu 8 kilos. Moi, j'en ai perdu 5. Mon compagnon, là, mi-juin, est à moins 10 kilos et moi à moins 6. Elle est extraordinaire dans sa manière de nous avoir amené à intégrer ces nouvelles habitudes saines. Et tout ça avec beaucoup de délicatesse. Et ses conseils ont été très individualisés. Elle nous a toujours encouragés, très compétente. Vraiment, on peut lui faire confiance. Merci à elle, en tout cas, pour tout ce qu'elle nous a apporté.
So that was her testimonial, but you have so many more on here, so feel free to watch it in your free time. But it definitely wasn't always like this. Before I was a coach, I, was that girl who wanted to lose just a few pounds because I felt like the heaviest friend. And I was not really, but that's besides the point. I did what every woman does when they start their, fat loss journey. Let me eat less and move more. But it was me, so of course I had to take it to the extremes. I would eat under 1,000 calories every day, try to do as many HIIT workouts pretty much every single day too and hit the 20k steps, sure, I lost weight. I did lose the weight. But I also lost my energy, my hair, my periods. I was always cold. I was miserable, constantly thinking about food, and still not happy with my body because I was skinny fat. So I was still feeling fat and, flabby, just in a smaller body. That wasn't working. I kept chasing a smaller weight. I was smaller, but I was not leaner, driving me crazy. Then one day, while traveling to the US, I snapped. I remember exactly what it was. It was on the Costco cashews pack box thing. I started with having some, and then some more, and then I finished the entire thing, and then I probably had some more food as well. But that was my first binge. One of many binges. For months, I was trapped in the binge restrict cycle. I'd wake up promising, I'm gonna start over, I'm gonna be good, I don't need to have breakfast, I ate enough last night, let me just be good, exercise it off, and all good things, right? By night, I would be right where I started, feeling very ashamed of myself, guilty, and just sick. And I gained 40 pounds in 2 months. How crazy is that? I stopped going out with my friends, I would hide in big clothes, I cried in fitting rooms very often because I needed bigger clothes, right? And I was just not enjoying life anymore. I hated what I saw in the mirror and I just could not recognize, like I had lost myself at that point. Basically wondering why the things that I used to do that would work, the extreme starvation and crazy workouts, don't anymore. I felt like I was trying everything else and nothing was working. For years, I felt that I was just lacking willpower. Maybe there was a problem with me or with my body, or I was weak, I was addicted to food. But eventually I realized, it doesn't seem like it's working. And that's basically the definition of insanity, right? Trying the same thing, expecting a different result. So maybe it's not a discipline problem, maybe it's a strategy problem. Because the truth was, I did not understand how my brain and my body worked. Because obviously no one teaches women that overtraining, undereating, and basically self-punishment will destroy your metabolism, your health, and your view of yourself as well. No one tells you that binge eating isn't about food, it's about your brain. And when I figured that out, everything changed. I'm not kidding. I decided, okay, let me take a step back, let me stop restricting, let me stop punishing myself, let me try it a different way. And I gave my body what it actually needed. I started eating like an adult woman again, 1800 plus calories, balanced meal, real food, honored my craving. I worked out in a way I actually enjoyed, and the weight came off effortlessly. No binging, no guilt, no starting again on Monday. And for the first time, not only did the weight came off effortlessly, but also for good, and I saw the confidence immediately shift. That's when I knew that I had cracked the code. And that's how the method you're about to discover was born. Because fun fact, this isn't about being perfect, it's about finding something that works for you, your life, but also just your body and your brain. And that's why I do this job, that's why I make this video, because I know what it feels like to hate your body and feel like you're trying everything but just being stuck, nothing is working. I know what it feels like to feel out of control around food, not trust yourself, to feel ashamed of your body, to hate looking in the mirror and avoid it as much as possible, and just to not recognize the person that you've become. You don't need another diet, you need to heal your relationship with food and your body and exercise, and that's exactly what I'm going to show you. I call it the flow method, yes I went there, and the lean codes. These two systems work together to help you stop binge eating, lose the weight for good, and rebuilding your confidence, your energy, and your health without extremes. First, we have fix, which is the first phase. That's when you really end the chaos of the binge restrict and you create stability. This is the phase that most women skip, by the way, and that's why you keep failing, because you jump straight into a deficit while you're still not healed from binge eating. I cannot emphasize this enough. If you don't do this, that is why you keep failing. In the fixed phase, the goal isn't to lose weight, but to build the foundation. So we eat 3 meals a day, if not 4, we have snacks, regular timing, and we make sure that we get enough food and have that unconditional permission to eat whatever you want. No tracking, just having that structure, right? We also start training 2 to 3 times per week, nothing crazy, just getting some movement and really starting to have the right habits in. Obviously, we also have sleep, hydration, and that self-care aspects that are so key to make the process easier. But most importantly, that's the part when you learn to identify your triggers, learn to wait out an urge, learn, the patterns behind the binge eating. And once you're consistent with that, then we can talk about calories, about macros, and about weight loss. Not before. You need to be aware of what's going on before we can start any type of transformation that does require a little bit of restriction, right? Let's be honest still. This is really where we bring into light tracking and make sure that you can track food without it creating a binge. And I have many reasoning behind why I think tracking is the best thing, because I used to, when I wouldn't track, and I would still try to diet, I would pretty much gaslight myself into eating as little as I can and say, I'm full now, and then I would be hungry again and be, no, I've just had food. And I would end up exactly where I was with the under eating and then the binges. When you track, you know exactly what you're putting into your body, and you're making sure that you're in that sweet spot that will not trigger a binge because that's high enough, yet low enough that you will see results quickly and effortlessly. That's why the end of that fixed phase really is about tracking at maintenance, seeing what your body needs, what a typical day of eating looks like, how to reintroduce bad food without spiraling, what triggers again your binge urges so you can catch them early. That's when you have a strong enough foundation and we can move into the lean code. The lean code is basically starting the fat loss phase the right way with structure, not extreme restriction. We're not going to do, 1200 calories, we're not going to do keto, not going to do intermittent fasting. We just move you into a gentle deficit, just 10% below maintenance, so you can get used to that hunger feeling without it triggering a binge. So this phase rests on 4 pillars. First, you got lifestyle, obviously. So lifestyle is about optimizing sleep, making sure you're not too stressed and incorporating that movement beyond the workouts. It's about morning and evening routines that are built to support you and your goals. It's also about dealing with social life, weekends, and travel without sabotaging. And it's about that identity shift. Not I'm on a diet, but I'm on that wellness journey and I want to take care of my body. Exercise. Obviously, no more random exercise, no more burning calories to earn food. You need a strategic training plan based on your goals and your schedule. So if you can only work out 3 times per week, so be it. If you want to work out more, train for a half marathon. If you want to do this, if you don't like doing that, if you don't like running, so be it. It needs to be based on what you can do in terms of schedule, in terms of fitness level, and in terms of just enjoyment, because exercise is meant to be enjoyed. Whether you prefer working from home, whether you want to go to the gym, if you prefer full body workout or maybe upper body and lower body split. Same for the cardio. Do you prefer swimming? Do you prefer running? Do you prefer only walking? Fine, but it has to be what you like. Accountability. Knowledge is not the problem, you know that now. Consistency is. Fat loss is basically easy. Eat less, move more, good to go. In theory, sure, but in practice, you have to keep on showing up. You have to stay plugged in. You have to stay locked in, right? So you have to find out an accountability system that works for you. Whether it's a reward system, whether it's a partner, whether it's a coach. Nutrition, that's literally the pillar of the lean code, because nutrition is 90% of the job when it comes to any type of body transformation. So this isn't about tracking obsessively, even though, as I said, you are going to be tracking, but it's really about learning how to eat in high volume so you're satisfied, and high in protein as well so you're satisfied and feel fuller for longer, but also how to include your, favorite food like chocolate and still see results. You can eat cinnamon rolls and still lose the weight. I'm here to tell you that because I've done it and some of my clients have done it too, like specifically cinnamon rolls. But all of my clients go out and go to the restaurants and have a drink with their friends and have those family dinner and still lose weight. Right, so now we are out of the lean code. You are that confident, lean, strong, healthy woman. Now what? Now we optimize. Because oftentimes it's like, okay, I've reached my weight goal, now what? You're going to go through the reverse dieting phase when you slowly eat a little bit more. Again, you track so you can still be very aware of what you're doing so you don't end up binging and gaining the weight back. But since you lost the weight the right way, you have a strong, healthy, high metabolism. So it's just easy. And then you can get off tracking, as I said, slowly. Maybe it's 1 day of intuitive eating a week, then 2, then 3. And that's how you can maintain the weight loss, because you learn so much by tracking that you can just eyeball the food and be like, this is exactly what I need, so I am at maintenance. And you also learn to, get really attuned to your hunger cues and fullness cues, so oh, I'm full now, I don't have to finish this plate, or let me have an extra snack because I'm hungry today. You learned all of that through all the phases before, so it becomes natural for you, and that's when you can get off tracking. And that's also when you really transition from I'm that person who's on a diet and who's trying to lose weight to just being that person who eats healthy, exercise, and don't binge anymore. The last phase is weightless, as I've called it. It's basically when you don't have to think about food and weight loss, because if you achieved weight loss, you know you can maintain it, and you have worked through all the triggers, through all the hard work that you've done. You know what your triggers are. You can identify the patterns. You've rewritten whatever food rules you have, so you feel free now, and you can trust yourself around food. And when you don't constantly think about food and weight loss, the mental space that you gain is priceless. So that's when you're fully off tracking and you're completely into that intuitive eating space, and you build exercise not to transform your body but to maintain it. Maybe you have other exciting goals like running a half marathon, or completing a triathlon, whatever it may be. You just feel confident about your choice. You feel confident about the lifestyle you build. And yeah, that's when your relationship with food, exercise, and your body just becomes weightless. Together, the lean code and the flow method cover everything you need. It's an entire transformation system that will take you from I've tried everything, nothing works, I hate my body, to oh my god, I look so good, I can eat whatever I want, let me take a picture in a bikini. This entire process isn't for everyone. It's for the woman who's ready to commit, who's fed up with what hasn't worked in the past and wants something different, who's done with the self-sabotage, the late night binge, the all or nothing thinking, the 3-day detoxing, basically starving yourself. And this is for the woman who wants to feel strong again, who wants to not have to think about weight loss and food for the rest of their life, who wants to feel confident and just proud of the work they've accomplished. So if that's you, the next step is simple. Book a clarity call with me. Let's talk about your goals, about your situation, where you're at, what you're stuck with, and let's get you to your dream body. This time, for good.